Hey everybody, it's your boy VG Time back again. I had a lot of time to think about it, and as such, I think that Fusion World might not actually be such a bad thing. I think that Fusion World solves a few issues that we have for barrier entry into our own game that we love so much. See, we gotta remember something, and we gotta remember how the game grew in the first place. So when Dragon Ball Super Card Game came out, it was inherently the easiest game to play at the time. Magic the Gathering, Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh!, Force of Will, they were the more complicated games to play at the time. Even Cardfight Vanguard, which is the game I was playing during that time to be my easy game, was less complicated than Dragon Ball was. And a lot of people were disgruntled with a lot of those other games where now it was Mana Screw from Magic, and people liked the fact you could charge any card for energy, or how one-sided combo-centric Yu-Gi-Oh was, and as such, they just wanted to come over and play something, with characters they like and that they had time to have the turns with each other, or the expense of other games and so forth. And the community grew, and it was growing like gangbusters, similar to the way that One Piece is now. Like Dragon Ball was huge, like it was boom, blew up, nuclear. Then stuff started happening. The game got significantly more complex, significantly more combo centric. The power creep got really real, and we lost a lot of players whose purpose was to get away from those items to come to the Dragon Ball Super card game. Those of us who remain with the card game have learned to deal with those issues, and we have thus benefited from having a rich, fun card game experience. But similar to that friend of yours that you know is in that toxic long-term relationship, and you try to tell them, hey, it's not good that she slaps you in front of your friends in public and degrades you. And he goes, nah, man, you don't understand. If you can only see the way she loves me, bro, like you'll be able to understand why we together. And you go, okay. We're like that toxic relationship friend, right? We're incapable of seeing the issues that are in the game for new players to come in and have fun playing a card game. So Fusion World, I hope, will address several of these items, and I'm just going to go over them right now. So the first thing is card pool knowledge. I was talking with one of my friends, Rising Phoenix Odyssey, and he mentioned that the biggest thing that he sees when he actively teaches new players how to play the game is card pool knowledge. They're just, we're 21 sets, about to be 22 sets in, and there's just so many cards that exist. And I know a lot of them are not significant, but there are a bunch of got you cards in the game that when you play fundamental Dragon Ball, if you don't know these cards exist, will blow you out of games. In those kind of situations, it causes a lot of anger in people. And once people get angry and they're only a trial deck or two smashed together in, they have no issue dropping the game and going back to what they were playing. I see it happen all the time. People would come in, buy whatever the latest deck is or buy what they like, and they'll put the deck together, come and play, and go 0-4 at locals. And two of those times was because they got blown out by cards they never seen before. And some people just, their ego can't recover from that. I also seen it happen even in other card games like Magic, which is why Standard for the longest time was so popular and Modern and Legacy and Vintage weren't, was that people was like, I don't want to learn what all those decks do and what all those cards do. I'd rather just skate with this small pool. So in a sense, our having a lack of rotation or a lack of multiple formats in the beginning, like for Masters, was one of the barriers to entry. I remember when they came out with Unison Warrior format, I was excited about that, but the established player base was balking at it. I was excited for Zenkai Cup, and again, established player base balking against it. So they never really pushed those formats as hard as they could have, which would have been a cool way to get people into the game. So how does Fusion World solve this? Well, it's quite easy. We're all going to be starting from square one. It's going to have a global release in English and Japanese, and as such, we're going to be learning the cards together again. And also with a simplified card base, hopefully there's less of these gotcha cards that are hanging out there. The second thing that comes up is counters. So whether it be counterattacks or counterplays, the same situations always seem to come up, which is understanding when these cards could be used. As veteran players, we don't see it come up as much for our own games, but even when I see players who play a lot, counterplay windows still are an issue. I was at an event, not that long ago, and I know this person played the game for a long time, and they would still had a judge over there trying to figure out the counterplay windows on a particular play. So honestly, it has to be a problem. Well, with Fusion World, you're not supposed to have the counters and the counter plays. So as such, it should simplify that whole part of the game, and we don't have to worry about it, period. Now, next we're gonna get into the two things that I think are the real barrier to entry to this game, and that is sequencing the cards and card advantage. And I believe they go hand in hand. So right now in the Dragon Ball Super card game, the difference between whether or not a player wins or loses is how they sequence their cards and how they understand card advantage. Sometimes you could just play something that's dumb powerful and it wins the game on its own, which goes back to, card pool knowledge and stuff like that. But most good players won't get blown out by something like that. So what becomes more the case is that cards were sequenced improperly, which caused you to lose a card here or there, which then caused you to have a lack of card advantage. Fusion World, because of the simpler cards, should mitigate the backlash of mis-sequencing cards. The other thing that comes up is that I actually think card advantage will be more important in Fusion World, because comboing is our main way of interacting with each other as far as like dealing with combat. So throwing away extra cards for no reason becomes more detrimental in Fusion World as the game goes on. I think by learning the fundamentals of card advantage, understanding these things, that will help someone be able to transfer over to Masters a little bit better. And lastly, one of the things that comes up in Masters and that separates a newer to intermediate player versus a good to great player is understanding when should you be going for life, when should you be going for board. And I believe that in Fusion World, again, these things will become so necessary to learn in order for you to win in Fusion World that it'll be kind of beat into the person. And then they will be able to transition it over to Masters. So I think if we look at things from a positive perspective, it's not really that bad that Fusion World is out here. And hopefully it helps to rejuvenate the IP of Dragon Ball as a card game. And as such, when they see us old heads playing Masters, either on the side or as our primary local format, they'll want to learn that game as well. Here's to hoping everything works out. And I'll catch you guys again next time. And this is VG Time signing out.